Michael Porter at the Harvard Business School, I'm sure you're aware, developed the Five Forces model, in which he said we could think about competitors in our industry and the people who supply that industry, the people who buy from that industry, and then whether or not there are substitutes for the technology or products that are coming along to supplant or replace the current products that we have in that industry, and then perhaps people who are trying to come into that industry, and can we create some barriers to keep them out, a source of sustainable competitive advantage perhaps. That might be, again, a government subsidy. It could be patents. We discussed earlier any number of ways of creating that competitive advantage. So the Five Forces model has been actively used over the last 30 years by a number of consulting firms, industries, and companies to understand what's going on in a particular industrial structure. Porter also developed the concept of a generic value chain to describe the core capabilities that are necessary to create margins. So if you've got a commoditizing industry and the margins are shrinking, are there ways in our organizational design, in the way we manage our people, in our research and development, in our other capabilities of procurement, for example, that would help us enhance our margins? So if we satisfy our customers, they're going to give us more revenues. If we need to manage our costs, perhaps internally we can find ways to cut down on costs and enhance our margins. This leads to the notion of a general value chain, which virtually any durable goods manufacturing company has to consider. And today they're doing that, as you know, in a global sense. Where do we get the raw materials? How do we transport them? What kind of processing or forming or manufacturing do we need to do? What about assembly, distribution, sales, and service? So if you think about these linkages, you could ask, okay, what are the margins in each of these elements? And are they sufficient to where we would want to control those, or would we want to outsource? So we may decide our business is only going to be here because the margins on this piece and the margins on this piece are so thin, we don't really want to be in that business. On the other hand, we need to have those relationships so that we can ensure that we have everything we need to assemble the parts and pieces and then to distribute them in the way that we want to. But we may outsource, for example, sales and or servicing as well. Again, all of these decisions are strategic and will help you decide what the ultimate end user customer satisfaction is going to be like. The less you own, the more difficult it is to control, of course. Ford Motor Company, as you know, tried to backward integrate all the way to mining ore and bringing the ore into their own smelters for creating the steel for building their own automobiles, and eventually that huge system collapsed, as you're well aware.